I heard a familiar voice at the restaurant we were at for our daughter's birthday. That voice and the way of speaking were undoubtedly my husband's, who was supposed to be on a business trip. Sorry, I thought I had made a reservation at a fancy restaurant. I messed up big time.
Don't worry about it. I'm happy anywhere as long as I'm with you.
Thanks, you're so sweet. God, I love you. Their conversation sounded like something out of lovey-dovey couple. There was no doubt it was his affair in progress. Unaware of my presence, he continued processing his love. My precious wife passed away, you know. I was able to recover because of you. Holding the hand of his girlfriend, he earnestly spoke to her. Marry me. Let's be happy together. At that moment, my anger reached its peak. Precious wife? She passed away? What the heck is he talking about? Your wife is right here. Overtime and working on weekends were all lies. Proposing to his girlfriend on our daughter's birthday is just unforgivable. My husband, who had been betraying us, would face reckoning the next day. My name is Nala. I'm a working wife in my 6th year of marriage. After graduating from college, I focused on my career at a major bank. And before I knew it, I was in my late 20s without a boyfriend. Freaking out, I joined the local singles party with my friends. And that's where I met the man who would become my husband. Kyle was easygoing and had a positive impression. I was over the moon when he asked me out. After a year of going out, he popped the question. Babe, I'll make you the happiest wife. So, marry me. Oh my God! Yes! I love you so much! And so, we got engaged. After that, we went to announce the news to my parents, who were as happy as us. Then it was his family's turn, but his mother had already passed away, so there was only his father. As we headed to Dave's place, Kyle mentioned something about him for the first time. I have to admit, I'm not very comfortable around him. Oh, why? He's pretty stern and used to give me a hard time when I was younger. I see. I had no idea. He sounded nervous, so I tensed up a little as we approached the house. Contrary to my imagination, Dave gave me a warm welcome. While he seemed tough, he treated me with courtesy. Nala, he can be a handful sometimes, but please take care of him. Don't worry, Dave. I'm used to it by now. Kyle, you're starting a family now. Take responsibility and be the good husband to her. I know, Dad. And so, our first introduction to the in-laws ended. Afterward, we got married, moved into a new apartment, and began our newlywed life. Right after we started living together, I realized that he couldn't do any housework. Well, he used to live alone, so it was more like he had no intention of doing it. Dirty laundry would be all over the floor, and he wouldn't even bother to clear the dishes after eating. I asked him to help with housework once, but he simply dismissed it. Isn't that a wife's job when you get married? Are you serious asking me to do it? I was totally stunned and couldn't say anything back to him. Since then, no matter how much I complained, he never improved his attitude. About 2 years into this kind of life, I found out I was pregnant. He was overjoyed and looked forward to discovering whether it was a boy or a girl. My parents were thrilled to hear the news too, and Dave said, "Take it easy on yourself from now and have a healthy baby." Our child was blessed by everyone, which made me happier than anything. However, when my morning sickness kicked in, Kyle still didn't show any sign of helping me with housework. I was so frustrated, but I had to push myself to do the chores no matter how unwell I felt. When I was 8 months pregnant, he surprised me with a sudden statement. "Hey hon, I'm thinking about taking paternity leave."
Huh? Really?
Yeah, you know, my company is Scandinavian. A lot of my colleagues are from there. I see them taking leave and being involved in the caring of their newborns. It's pretty cool.
As you may know, Scandinavia is one of the most advanced regions when it comes to the family support system. Learning that he was aiming to become an involved dad made me happy. Thanks, love. It means a lot to me. I was feeling overwhelmed. It'd be great if you could help with babysitting and housework.
Leave them to me.
I believed that he would change his way once our baby arrived. I was still hopeful back then. Later, I gave birth to a healthy girl named Emma. Kyle took 3 months of paternity leave, which was scheduled to start at the same time as the baby was born. However, he still didn't do anything contrary to my expectations. He would hold Emma and coo on her, but as soon as her diaper was wet or she started crying from hunger, he'd hand her over to me. Her diaper must be wet and uncomfortable. Chant it for her.
No way! I don't want to do something so nasty.
Fine. At least vacuum then.
Ugh! Seriously? I don't know how to do it. So better you do it.
He didn't make any effort to learn how to take care of our baby, let alone help with housework. I was exhausted after giving birth and sleep deprived from the crying baby throughout the night. While I was busy doing everything, he was just lounging at home, playing with his phone. Sometimes he'd go out somewhere, eat out alone or shop, then return. I was getting upset, wondering what he was on paternity leave for in the first place. I even thought about talking to his dad about it, but I decided to hold my tongue to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Emma grew rapidly, and Kyle returned to work after the paternity leave. I took a year off from work and planned to put her in daycare when I started working again. Time passed, and Emma turned 3. We might have appeared to be a happy family at first glance, but my frustration had been building up for the past few years. Kyle, as usual, wouldn't lift a finger when it came to housework and childcare. Moreover, for the past 6 months or so, he'd become increasingly busy with work, often working late on weekdays. He even claimed to have to go in on weekends, which was supposed to be the only time he could spend time with Emma. Since I had been handling everything related to her, she had naturally become attached to me. Still, I thought I had to support Kyle because he was busy with work, so I somehow managed things day by day. As Emma's 4th birthday approached, I brought up an idea when he came home late one night. "Hey honey, I want to talk to you about something."
"What?" "I'm tired, you know."
He replied with a hint of annoyance, but I continued with a serious expression. "Emma's birthday is next Wednesday. I really want us to celebrate as a family, so can you try to come home early?"
"No way! I'm swamped with work right now. Anyway, I've got a business trip that day."
"Oh, come on. You've been spending no time with her for a while now. She misses you."
"Yeah, right. She's always glued to you, calling for her mommy."
"That's because you—" Before I could raise my voice, he interrupted, looking annoyed.
"Let's drop it. I don't want to argue about it anymore."
He headed off to take a shower. Left behind, I was utterly shocked. Then Emma's birthday arrived. Kyle had gone on a business trip early in the morning. When I asked Emma what she wanted to eat for her birthday, she energetically replied, "Kids' meal." She loved it at a nearby chain restaurant. I agreed to her request, and after picking her up from daycare, we headed there. However, it was closed for renovation. "Well, we have no choice. Let's go to a different location." And so, we ended up going to another one a bit farther away. The place was crowded, and we had to wait for about 20 minutes before being seated. "I'm really hungry." "You can eat as much as you want. We'll get some cake too." While having the conversation, I looked up, and my heart leaped out of my chest. The man sitting diagonally across with his back to us looked just like Kyle. Emma's meal was brought to her, and the pasta dish was placed in front of me. I stealthily observed the other table. Then, I overheard their conversation. "I'm sorry, Monica. I made a reservation at a fancy restaurant, but I messed up the date, and now we're here." The voice and the way of speaking were undoubtedly Kyle, who was supposed to be on the business trip. Referred to as Monica, said, "Don't worry about it. I'm happy anywhere as long as I'm with you." "Thanks, you're so sweet." I was sure it was the scene of his affair. I operated my phone nervously and pressed the record button. His voice was being recorded on the phone. "I had planned to have this conversation in the proper restaurant, but..." "What is it?" "As you know, my previous wife passed away. I was able to recover because of you." "Oh, baby." Holding her hands, he said with a serious tone, "So, Monica Reed, marry me. Let's be happy together." Her eyes welled up as she responded, "Kyle, let's be happy together for your previous wife's sake too." At that moment, my anger reached its peak. Previous wife? She passed away? What the heck is he talking about? Your wife is right here. Overtime and working on weekends were all lies. Proposing to his girlfriend on our daughter's birthday is just unforgivable. "Mommy, what's wrong? You look scary." Emma's voice made me snap out of it. It's nothing. Here, have some cake." I looked up again, but they had already left the restaurant. After celebrating her birthday with a forced smile, we returned home, and I took action immediately. The next day, after finishing work, I waited for Kyle to return home. The door swung open, and he casually said, "I'm home." I stood in the hallway and immediately started acting on my plan. "Welcome back. I went to the trouble of coming back from my grave for you." "Huh?" He looked perplexed. "Grave? What are you talking about?" "Well, you said I passed away, right?" "What?" He still didn't seem to get it, so I played back the recording from the previous day. "My previous wife passed away. I was able to recover because of you. So Monica Reed, marry me. Let's be happy together." I had edited the recording to be loud and clear. His voice echoed through the hallway. At that moment, his face turned pale. "What the heck is this? Were you in that restaurant yesterday?" "Obviously. That's where I heard you saying this." "God damn it. This is an invasion of privacy." "Proposing boldly in the public place, and now you're talking about privacy?" But wait, what's the deal? I'm supposed to have passed away without knowing it? That's... I sighed as he stammered. You know, divorce is inevitable after this. I'm going to claim alimony from you, so be prepared. Divorce? Alimony? Hold on! Do you have a problem with that? I grimaced, and he blurted out with a red face. It was just a joke. A joke? Right, there's nothing going on between me and her. You can't just come after me for alimony without evidence. Then, a couple figures appeared from the living room. What? Monica? What are you doing here? And that too? Monica was glaring at him with an intense expression, and Dave was standing with his arms crossed, showing his anger. After I got home from the restaurant, I searched for Monica Reed on social media and contacted her, revealing everything. Judging from the conversation, I had thought she didn't know the truth. I was right. She was terribly shaken and apologized to me. I accepted her apology and asked her to help me. I also explained the situation to Dave, who rushed over. I left Emma with one of my mommy friends and ambushed Kyle with them. Jeez, Monica, he muttered as if in a daze. Then she started screaming at him. You said you were lonely because your wife passed away, right? And she's still alive. And there's even a child? What's up with that? That's... You proposed shamelessly even though you're already married. I was a fool to accept this garbage. She threw the ring box at him. It hit him square in the face, and he crouched down in pain. Ouch! What the heck are you doing? I'm going to sue you for marriage fraud. I'm coming after you for tons of money, so you better not run. She huffed and puffed. Kyle was still crouching and stared her up in bewilderment. The next to speak was Dave. You're really a fool. You betrayed Nala and Emma, and on top of that, you deceived a young woman. You're an absolute idiot who has strayed from the path. It's as pathetic as it gets. He then approached Kyle and delivered a powerful slap. There was a sharp sound, and Kyle groaned. He writhed in pain, clutching his face but not uttering a word. I watched him with a cold gaze. Come on, get up. First, apologize to Nala. Dave's face was contorted in anger as he pulled him up. Tears welled up in Kyle's eyes as he began to apologize. I'm so sorry, Nala. Please, forgive me. Please say you forgave me. Otherwise, my old man's going to... I don't even want to think about it. He trembled and hung his head down, and I gave him a tongue lashing. Who would forgive you? I don't want a husband who doesn't do any housework or child care, and on top of that, cheats without a care in the world. We're definitely getting divorced, even if I have to fight in court. I'll make sure I get custody and alimony. Oh no. He looked dazed while Dave grabbed him by his scruff of his neck and dragged him out of the house. Then Monica took my hand and apologized again. I too said I apologized for my husband's behavior. Later, my divorce with Kyle was finalized, and I gained custody of Emma. I claimed $130,000 in lump sum as alimony for his infidelity and child support. Apparently, Monica also managed to get some compensation from him. Of course, he couldn't afford such a large sum, so Dave lent him the money and paid it all. He was furious about the whole incident and made Kyle quit his job. He arranged for him to work at the acquaintance's forestry company. Kyle's currently deep in the woods, cutting trees and repaying the debt to Dave. He's never done manual labor before and is put to hard work under a younger boss. He's said to be toiling away under desperation. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. On the other hand, I used the alimony to move and start a new life with Emma. I was worried that she might miss her dad, but she's been smiling and said, "As long as Mommy's with me, it's okay." I make sure she sees Dave regularly, and he showers her with some gifts every time. I'm looking forward to watching her grow and living life with a positive attitude.
I'm gonna divorce you. Give the apartment to my sister and get out right now.
My emotional husband screamed over the phone. I replied calmly and coldly, "I already moved out. My name is Gina. I'm a 35-year-old consultant. I've been married to Dean for 3 years now. We met through work. We were both handling business for our respective companies. He was dedicated to his job, and I thought he was an honest person, which was what originally attracted me to him. It seemed like he was interested in me too, and we gradually grew closer and started going out. Everything went smoothly, and he popped the question. I thought I could have a happy married life with him. At first, it was really great. Our newlywed life was exciting, and we enjoyed our time as a couple. But there was one problem that bothered me: his mother. Whenever I saw Shirley, she asked when we were having a baby. I initially thought it was just a simple inquiry, but I got tired of hearing it every time we visited her. Besides that, she constantly pushed household chores on me, saying that I was her daughter-in-law and should have helped around the house. She made me sweep, wipe, do laundry, and even cook. I couldn't understand why I had to be bossed around like that. To make things worse, Dean told me to obey her. One day, after a series of such incidents, I complained to him. "Why do I have to take orders from your mom?" He responded with annoyance. "Just cut it out. I don't want to hear it from you either." "What do you mean by either?" "I get asked about grandchildren, and she says you haven't been educated well enough as a wife. Besides, she's the one who covered the wedding expenses, you know. You should listen to her, okay?" "What are you talking about? It's the first time I heard about this." When we got married, he had told me he'd covered the wedding and had paid about $20,000. I was impressed and thought he was a responsible person to have such savings. But it turned out he had just taken the money from his mother. I was completely disillusioned. "You should have been honest from the beginning." "Sorry, but I was worried that if I mentioned it, you might dislike me." I found his behavior dishonest and questioned his character. "We owe her a lot, so please be nice to her." He begged me to understand. I realized that if she had indeed paid for our beautiful wedding, I should be thankful. By the way, my father-in-law had already passed away, and she was living alone. She paid a significant amount of money for us, so I felt grateful. When I visited her after that, I thanked and apologized to her. "Listen, Shirley, I didn't know you covered the wedding expenses. I'm sorry for not expressing my gratitude earlier. Thank you so much." She wore a smug expression on her face and responded, I couldn't help but think how incredibly rude you are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you're really feeling remorseful, then get to work on the chores.
Sure. I sighed, resigned to the fact. Her house was much bigger than ours, so the chores were incredibly taxing. To make matters worse, Dim wanted to visit her about 3 times a month. It's not nice to leave my mom all alone, you know? We should go and check on her. I started to feel like there was no need for me to accompany him every time. When I brought this up to him, he was adamant that we go together. It showed that we're a close couple. She can interact with me while you help her with the chores. We can divide our task efficiently, so it's better for both of us to go together. Seriously, it made no sense to me. I thought he should take up on the chores then. However, he seemed convinced that he was right and didn't consider my perspective. As a result, I found myself in an unpleasant situation a few times every month.
Oh boy, Gina, you're really not good at cooking. I wonder how you managed to make everything taste so terrible.
Well, everything tastes bad compared to your cooking.
Oh, Dean, you always say such nice things. I'll cook next time then.
I was relieved that she'd take over the cooking, thinking it lessened my burden on our next visit. However, her cooking was incredibly salty and unpalatable. It was evident that she used seasoning heavily, and even a small bite was enough to make me lose my appetite. Nevertheless, Dim happily exclaimed, "See, your cooking is the best."
Oh, Dean, you really get it. Gina's food doesn't have any flavor at all.
I thought, no way. It's just that your cooking tastes like nothing but salt and herbs. They completely overpower the natural flavors of the ingredients. She looked at me with a satisfied expression and asked,
So, how is it? Delicious, right?
Yes. I forced myself to finish the plate, but I felt incredibly nauseous afterward. I told myself to cook from next time, but then I thought I'd rather not have a next time. It didn't make sense for me to accompany Dean, so I came up with a plan the next time he wanted to visit her. Oh no, I seem to be running a fever. Really? Yeah, it's 100.6 degrees Fahrenheit, but Shirley wants us to come together, right? Don't blame me if I pass it to her. Upon hearing this, Dean became flustered. No, you don't have to come. I'll go alone. You stay home today and get a rest. I internally celebrated the success of my plan with a triumphant cheer. It had been a while since I had quality time to myself, and I could finally relax and recharge. Dean decided to spend the night at Shirley's place, giving me even more free time. That made me realize how much I needed to have some time to myself. So, I started using the same strategy every 2 or 3 times. But if you overuse the sick day, it was bound to raise suspicions. Do you really have a fever? Well, the thermometer says so. Then measure it again right now. I hesitated, thinking my scheme would be finally discovered. While measuring my temperature, I slightly rubbed the thermometer to make it read high, but if I had to take it in front of him, I couldn't do that. See, it's 96 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not a fever, but it's even on the lower side. Have you been deceiving me all this time? Lying to your partner? That's just not cool.
You were the one who lied to me first, you know?
What did you say?
Remember when you tried to look cool and claimed you paid for the wedding? You're not different.
God damn it! Stop bringing up old stuff like that! Anyway, we're going to Mom's. You better apologize to her.
Yeah, right. I'm not going anymore.
Don't be so selfish. Don't act like the world revolves around you.
You're no exception to what was said, you know.
Don't assume that I should always obey you in everything.
Anyway, I won't be visiting your mom so often. If you're concerned about her, go on your own.
Never mind then.
He seemed taken aback that I was standing my ground, and eventually gave up for the day, leaving on his own. If we had to fight like that every time, it'd take a toll on me emotionally. I wonder if there was a better solution. I could have figured it out on my own, so I went to consult with my parents. Oh dear, so that's what's been going on.
That sounds a bit selfish of him.
Yeah, no matter what I said, he always prioritizes his mother. Even when I don't want to go, he forces me. I've been thinking about separating for a bit. When I explained the situation, they came up with a suggestion. How about living in one of the apartments we own? Really? Is that okay? I knew they invested in real estate. They earned quite a bit from rental income. Plus, my dad had a well-paying job at a large corporation, so they had substantial funds for investment and owned several properties. They offered to let me use one of them.
It became vacant recently. We were in the process of finding a new tenant. You can use it as a second home.
Whoa, thanks. I immediately moved the essentials to the new apartment. I bought some appliances like a fridge and a microwave and some low-cost furniture. I had been so frustrated with Dean that I decided to live separately for the time being. While he was at Shirley's place, I left a note saying, I won't be back for a while, and left the house. As expected, he bombarded me with calls, but I ignored them. After about a week, I was shocked to see him waiting in front of the apartment building. Why are you here?
You're having an affair, aren't you?
What are you talking about? There's no way.
Then whose apartment is this? I've been following you and seeing you return here every day after work. You're an only child, and your parents live in the house, right? So the only explanation is that you've been going to some other man's place.
I was completely disgusted by his behavior. That's so creepy that you've been following me around.
It's your fault for suddenly leaving me.
I'm renting this place by myself. It's just me here.
Don't try to feed me such an obvious lie.
Then why don't you come inside and see yourself? I reluctantly let him into my apartment. There was no evidence of another man living there. He searched the entire place, but found nothing. It seemed he finally believed me.
Why did you rent this place in the first place?
Why don't you ask yourself that question? You should realize how carelessly you've treated me all this time.
What? I've been considerate of our life together.
What about your mother? You tried to force me to visit her even when I didn't want to. Did you ever consider how stressed I was?
She has always been kind to you and tried to teach you how to handle household chores.
Kind? It's ridiculous to interpret her behavior as kindness. She's been bullying me.
She wouldn't do that.
If things haven't changed, then get out. There's nothing more to say to you. I firmly told him to leave. He was shouting, but when the next door neighbor complained about the noise, he hastily left. I was freaking out that he had discovered me, but I couldn't back down. I decided that I wouldn't return until he showed genuine remorse and committed to changing his ways. If things remain the same, we should just get a divorce. Just as I was thinking that, he did something totally unexpected. One weekend, he suddenly showed up at my place again. What's more, he brought his sister with him. What are you doing here, Kathy? Whoa, this is quite a nice place. She casually walked in and inspected the place. I told you it would be perfect for you. Dean followed her inside. What's going on? Why did you bring her here? I didn't have a good relationship with her either. We only saw each other during holidays, but she had always been critical for me, often joined Shirley to making my life difficult. So I didn't have a favorable impression of her. Okay, I'll take it. What the heck does that mean? I mean, I live here. I'm moving next month, so please take care of things. Oh, and the rent as well. I was utterly baffled. You moved out of here and live with Mom and me. Are you kidding me? I've decided to move in with Mom. So stop being stubborn. Come home and start packing. I'd had enough. There was no point in being a part of the family with them. I had made up my mind to get a divorce, so I remained silent. They must have assumed I had agreed. They had left with smug expressions. After they were gone, I took immediate action. I explained the situation to my parents and decided to move out. To avoid being followed again, I also asked my office to follow me to work remotely. My parents swiftly handled the situation and found new tenants for the apartment. The location was excellent, and it was a spacious and clean apartment, so they quickly found someone to move in. I then found a new place to live in a different area from where Dean resided. Since I no longer had to go to the office, I didn't need to be in the area where I most likely bumped into him. I completed all the necessary procedures in no time and was able to leave alone safely. Soon enough, Dean called me incessantly. Hey, where are you now? I told you to come back, right? We're supposed to move in with Mom, so hurry up. We still have so much to pack. He angrily shouted. Too bad. I won't be living with you guys. Why should I have to live with someone who bullies me? Then I told him this. He lost his temper. Stop messing around. How selfish can you be? I'll divorce you, you know. Give the apartment to Kathy and get out of there right now. He was worked up and screamed over the phone. I responded calmly and coldly. I've already moved out. I've been living somewhere else. He must have been surprised and calmed down a bit. You should have told me that sooner. I'll let her know. If you're already moved out, then stop being stubborn and just come back. You actually miss me, don't you? I was amazed by his optimism. I don't know what you're trying to say, but I'm quite busy right now, so I have to go. Then I ended the call. I intentionally avoided any further contact for a while. After some time, I got a frantic call from him again. Hey, what the heck is going on? Why is there already someone else living in that apartment? Kathleen and I were almost mistaken for trespassers, and the police almost got involved. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. I wished I could have witnessed the scene. Who told you to let her live there? What? That apartment is owned by my parents. So, as soon as I moved out, they found a new tenant and signed a contract. No way. So, where's she supposed to live now? Well, she could move in with you guys, right? Don't be ridiculous. I won't let you get away with this once you return. Whatever you say. We're getting a divorce for sure. Huh? I've already made up my mind to serve times with you guys. I won't be living with your mom in a million years.
What? Divorce? Are you serious?
I'm always serious. It's you guys who are out of your minds. Well then, let's discuss things through lawyers. Then I hang up the phone. Later, I demanded a divorce through a lawyer. I also sought compensation for the emotional distress I had suffered due to the harassment from the three of them. They were completely flabbergasted by the fact that I went after them. At present, they're living together at their family home. Shirley squandered her late husband's inheritance, and Kathy doesn't work or do any housework. All the financial burdens have fallen squarely on Dean, who doesn't have a particularly high income. As a result, they're living a financially strained life. They brought this upon themselves, and it serves them right. On the other hand, I'm comfortably continuing my life, working and enjoying living alone. I plan to increase my savings for a while, discover some hobbies, and continue to build a fulfilling life.